A very warm welcome to this video where we are going to discuss a very important topic, that is sleeping in a bad place. Yes, places have energies, just like anything else in the world. It can either be positive or be negative. And the civilizations earlier to us did know about this very important fact. For example, in ancient China, they used to avoid building houses at places where there were specific energy lines which they used to call dragon lines. Similarly, there have been researches around the world. For example, in Germany, in 1929, in Wilsberg, there was a research on cancer patients. And the research concluded that most of the people who were suffering from cancer were sleeping at a place where there was underground currents of water or some other lines, and especially they were sleeping at a place where they were crossing points. So this has been further substantiated with other researches done by other researchers after this particular research had come into light. Therefore, it becomes a very important thing to understand that whether the place where we are sleeping is a good place to sleep or a bad place to sleep. And to discuss about this important aspect, I have a very, very special person with me today as my guest. His name is Mr. Danko Gasic, and he hails from Serbia. He is joining us today live from Belgrade. Now, he has been dowsing for the past more than 30 years. He has been healing houses. He has been finding the energy levels of various houses. And it gives me immense pleasure today to be talking to him on this important aspect. A very warm welcome, Mr. Danko.
Welcome to me, Professor Prabal.
Now, since Mr. Danko is not very comfortable with the English language, therefore he has requested Mr. Pedja to be his translator for this particular video. Mr. Pedja, welcome to this talk.
Hello, pleasure to meet you.
So, Mr. Danko, how do we recognize whether the place we are sleeping in is a good place or a bad place?
Gospodine Danko, kako da prepoznamo ili kako da znamo da mesto na koje spavamo je loše mesto ili dobro mesto?
Dobar dan pre svega svima. Ukoliko se nalazimo kao stanari zgrade, odnosno stan u kome živimo, prepoznaćemo to pre svega po gubitku energije i umoru.
We will recognize the bad spot where we sleep by having a great fatigue, or we are feeling worn down. Especially we will recognize the bad place by feeling a loss of energy.
Right.
Ukoliko spavamo na lošem mestu, imat ćemo jutarnji umor, bol u vratu, ramenima, krstama i nogama.
If we are sleeping in a bad place, on a bad place, we will feel a great fatigue in the morning. We will feel pain in our legs and in our chest, and we will feel overall a great fatigue.
Ustajemo umorni sa čestim noćnim znojenjem.
We are having constant night sweat.
A kod male dece se to manifestuje kao bežanje iz kreveta ili bežanje iz sobe u kojoj se nalazi ta loša mesta.
And in infants or little children, the bad places manifest in their running away from rooms during the nights, or they are actually just refusing to be in some places.
Najčešće guraju glavu u ćošak kreveta, vrte se noću, buncaju, pa čak i mokre.
Basically, the infants are running away from beds. They are putting their heads under the bed, or they are running away in a closet or on some other rooms.
Kod ljudi koji dugo spavaju na lošem mestu, problemi se javljaju u svim oblastima zdravlja, ali ono što je značajno da bi se to prepoznalo, da su svi medicinski nalazi odlični.
What is really important to say is that in wide range of people, most medical records or medical examination show no faults, no medical no medical diseases or anything. The results are great, but people are feeling worn down. So that's the most significant things which we can say that a person is sleeping on a bad place.
Very nice. So what he meant to say was basically, if I would just summarize for my viewers, is that if the medical tests are okay, but still if a person is suffering from chronic fatigue, or if there are sleep problems, children are not sleeping at a particular place, then it maybe has something to do with the negative energy at that particular place. Now, which brings me to my next question, that if somebody suspects that a place might have a bad energy, then how should he go about it? What next step should he take?
Dobro, dakle, gospodine Danko, ako osoba pretpostavi da spava na lošem mestu, a svi lekarski nalazi su dobri, koji su to koraci koje ta osoba treba da preduzme?
Pa, ukoliko veruje u radiesteziju, da pozove neko radiestezistu, jel da? Ali ono što je najjednostavnije da se premesti na drugom mestu u prostoriji ili u stanu za početak.
For starters, that very person, before calling some dowser or a man who knows radiesthesia, the first step that person should take is to put their bed aside in some other place in the room. That's the very first step.
Zato je i zanimljivo da se oni koji imaju kuće sa većim brojem soba ili stanove sa većim brojem soba manje javljaju radiestezistima nego oni u malim stanovima, jer nemaju mogućnost premeštanja sami.
What is really characteristic is that people who have less space for living are more determined to call a dowser because they don't have space to move their beds. They are restricted by their living space, whereas people who have a bigger houses or larger place to live, they are often they are not having that need to call a dowser or to move the space, to move a bed in space because they have large space to live.
Excellent. So that is a very nice point. In fact, there had been an author and researcher by the name of Kathy Blacher who did a lot of research, and she interviewed around 11,000 people from 14 different countries, and she discovered that these negative energy patterns were causing cancer, they were causing arthritis, they were causing asthma in so many people. And then she started suggesting people to change their bed or the position of the bed. And I've heard that in Austria, they recommend that once you are purchasing a house, you are also given a map where the energy lines and the energy patterns of the houses have been drawn so that you can manage your beds and your furniture according to the map where it is marked bad energy. You tend to avoid that particular space in the home.
Da, gospodin Danko, dakle, bila jedna istražiteljka koja je intervjuisala oko 11.000 ljudi, jeste, i da na tome je zapravo utvrdila da postoje mesta gde se ukrštaju, preko mape se ukrštaju loše stvari, da pronalazi tako ta loša mesta utiču, da.
Da, Keti Behler je bila učiteljica i rođena 23. godine, umrla je 2019. godine.
Yes, I'm familiar with her. She was a teacher and she was born in 1923. She died in 2019.
I ovo je zaista najobimnija knjiga, najdetaljnija knjiga o tim stvarima.
And the book I'm showing to you is the most detailed book about the very subject that you mentioned.
Excellent.
Sve je tako kao što piše tu.
Everything is like it is written in this book.
Ima jedna zanimljivost u vezi nje i njenih predloga u prosveti Nemačke.
There are some interesting things about her work in German education system.
Ona je predložila bila da se deca u školama rotiraju svaki mjesec dana.
She has suggested in German educational system that pupils or students in schools rotate their places every month.
I meni su potvrdili skoro da se to i dalje tamo radi.
And I have some confirmations that some schools are still practicing her suggestions to move students inside classroom every month.
Ono što je još zanimljivo u njenoj... Izvolite.
I'm thinking, why not they change the classrooms as well, just to change the positions of the students. They can also change the classrooms, because the place will be more affected if we change the classroom.
Da, gospodin je razumeo da se rotiraju samo đaci, a ne, ali vi ste tako rekli, izgleda nije razumeo. Yes, Mr. Danko said that she suggested that students just switch places.
All right, yeah. All right, great. So for those who have a lot of space, they can change the position of their bed, which is what we recommend them when we do a house healing. But then he says nothing about those people who don't have a lot of space. What should they do? What can they do before they call in a professional help?
Za ljude koji nemaju dovoljno mesta u stanu, koji su to koraci koji mogu još da preduzmu pre nego što pozovu radiestezistu?
Pa, treba da znaju svakako nešto od tih priručnih sredstava zaštite, kao što su ulja, kesteni, asure.
Before they call a professional, they should be familiar with some things, like some healing oils or using some sort of protective objects.
Great. A danas postoje i tehničke zaštite mnogobrojne protiv tih stvari.
But today we have many objects that serve for this very purpose, for protecting individuals or protecting rooms.
Međutim, ono što je zanimljivo, a to sigurno profesor Prabal zna, te sile ne utiču samo na fizičko zdravlje, nego i na psihičko, i na odnose u kući, u porodici. Ljudi se zbog toga i razvode.
As you have known, Professor, you're probably familiar with that these influences from bad energies are not just manifesting on physical health, it also manifests on mental health and on relations between family members. And usually, because of these bad energies, men and women are being divorced.
Ne mogu da spavaju zajedno na istom mestu, jednome je bolje, drugome je lošije, jedno drugoga u ležajima, i onda to se tumači drugčije, a pogotovo je to vezano kad su tu manji stanovi, pa je onda zanimljivo, spavaju na klupi u predsoblju umesto u sobi.
For example, husband and wife, when they are sleeping in the same bed, wife is feeling comfortable, husband is not, or vice versa. And in most cases, one of the spouses are leaving that room and starts to sleep on some other piece of furniture, like bench, etc.
Yeah, that is very interesting, that it has also impact on the relationships between the family members. Now, you mentioned about oils and protection objects. Now, what can be those oil and protection objects which those people can use before they finally call in a professional help?
Gospodine Danko, koja su to ulja ili zaštitnici koji ljudi mogu da koriste pre nego što pozovu profesionalnu pomoć?
To su obično ulja za jelo. Kada bi radiestezista hteo da zaštiti svoju kuću, on bi napravio kuću na bazenu od, recimo, mašinskog ulja, primjer.
Those are mostly cooking oils, but for example, if a professional dowser if he is building a house, he will build his house on top of a pool of machine oil.
Kupi se 10 litara ulja pa se poređa tako ispod kreveta, onda se uzme jedno pa se zamenjuje, koristi se to ulje, menja se stalno, recimo.
For example, he would put about 10 liters of oil in different jars just below the bed, and he will move those jars around, and that will have some significant impact.
Par kilograma kestena je takođe dobro staviti ispod kreveta.
A few kilograms of it's not nuts, it's just some other, I forgot what's the name of particular, it is kako ste rekli, gospodin Danko, kesten. Ne znam to da prevedem, ali da kažemo da je orah, kao orah. It is, yes, it looks like a nut.
Ima bodlje, ima bodlje.
The fruit that has these spikes, we can also use that fruit. Okay. Oil from that fruit.
Često koriste ogledala da stavljaju komad ogledala dole ispod okrenut naniže.
And also people are using mirrors and they put mirrors below beds.
U Evropi vole da koriste asure.
And people are also using asuras below beds. Okay.
What are the asuras?
Šta su asure, kako da prevedemo?
Asura su one za ležanje na podu od like, od biljaka se pravi.
So basically those are type of bed rolls which is specifically crafted from various of things we find in nature, like some types of trees, and we put those bed rolls below beds.
I see. Very interesting.
Vojvodina, gde se proizvodi puno žita.
For example, in a part of Serbia called Vojvodina, there is a large producement of wheat, and wheat is also being used. So basically, wheat is also used to put below beds.
Nema zračenja.
And therefore, there is no radiation.
Great, very nice. In fact, in Germany, there was a practice I've heard that they used to go and take a piece of an ant hill, and then they used to come back and put it in their bedroom, or probably where they used to want to build a bedroom. If the ants will go away from this place, then this place was supposed to be nice to build a room or to stay. And if the ants would stay here, then it denoted that this is not a good place to live in, because the ants normally build their houses, their ant hills, on negative energy lines. So this is one thing perhaps which I suggest to people if they don't want to take a professional help. Then in order to gauge whether the place is negative or positive, whether it is a good place or a bad place, then at least they can use this small little thing and find out for themselves.
Da, u Nemačkoj inače praksa da ljudi unose čak da stavljaju neke insekte koji ukoliko beže sa tog mesta, onda se ispostavi da je to mesto loše. Tako da i u drugim tradicijama postoje ti načini utvrđivanja lošeg mesta.
Mravi, ose, ne vole, mravi, ose idu na loše mesta.
Mr. Danko said that ants, especially, and some types of bees are drawn to bad places.
Yes.
Da, to je uobičajeno kad se pregleda mesto, ali to su sve priručne stvari, ima puno običaja raznih u svim zemljama sveta, ali to su sve priručne stvari.
And those types of practices when determining the bad places by placing some animals or insects are all the things that we are doing sideways. Those are not the most specific meanings or ways to heal that bad place.
Ali, gde mačka leži, ti beži.
But there is an old saying in Serbia, where cat is lying, you must get away from that spot.
A gde pas spava, to je najmanje loše.
And where the dog is sleeping, that is a good place.
Mačka voli ta ukrštanja tih loših zračenja.
Cats, specifically as animals, are drawn to bad places, and they are usually sleeping where those bad energies intertwine.
Pa kad se neko hvali da mu mačka spava na grudima, stomaku ili nogama,
and when somebody is praising that a cat is sleeping in their lap,
nogama ili stomaku, jel? To
dobro.
znači da je na tim da spava ili na lošem mestu.
That means that that person is sitting or sleeping on a bad place.
Ili je na tim mestima bolestan, pa mačka iz njega izvlači tu negativnu energiju.
Or he is sick on that body places, and the cat are somehow channeling that bad energy out of him.
Yeah, very interesting. Very nice. Very nice. And here in this part, what we suggest is that if there is no professional help available, and if you come to understand that a particular place is negative, then we tell them to draw this swastik symbol over there, as you were mentioning about protective symbols.
Yes, we know that.
So yes.
So is there any symbol which you also over there tell your clients or other people to draw for protection, just like this symbol?
Da li postoje još neki simboli koji vi preporučujete da ljudi crtaju pored ovog simbola?
Pa ja kad mentalno štitim prostor, ali to traje kratko, nacrtam krst u krugu.
What I suggest when I'm doing a mental protection of somebody or some place, I use a cross in a circle.
Ali to deluje kratko, ja ga sklonim posle.
But the impact of that symbol is very short, and I immediately move it.
I postoji dosta zaštitnika sa simbolima.
There are many protective objects which has symbols drawn on them.
Međutim, moraju se proveravati stalno.
But they need to be checked occasionally.
Right.
Zato što od tih zaštita postoje više vrsta.
Because there are many kinds of protections. So the objects or symbols should be checked or basically change occasionally.
Postoje transformeri koji transformišu tu energiju u dobro.
For example, there are transformers which transform energies. Dobro.
Imaju oni koji odbijaju u drugi prostor.
There are objects which reflects negative energies to other spaces.
Onda oni koji upijaju u sebe pa se prazne.
But there are also objects or devices which are actually collecting bad energies to themselves, and they need to be recharged or emptied.
Right. Ili oni odvlače u uzemljenje od struje.
And they're also taking away bad energy from electrical devices or electrical inputs in rooms.
Simboli spadaju u transformere.
Symbols are considered or usually are considered as transformers.
I see. Symbols means the one which we play, those symbols?
Yes. No, Mr. Danko meant symbols as such.
Okay, as such.
Symbols are considered as transformers.
All right, great. Very interestingly, I was watching one of your videos today, and I saw in one of the video that you are mentioning something about the phases of the moon relating to the geopathic stress level of a particular map where you were doing some dowsing work. Can you enlighten us on this important aspect of geopathic stress?
Danas sam gledao jedan vaš video gde pominjete mesečeve mene, odnosno mesečeve sad mesečeva stanja kako utiču na dijabetis. Da li možete kažete nešto o tome?
Ne, nije dijabetis. Nisam pomenuo.
On je rekao dijabetski stres ili nešto tako da nije.
Geopatogeni stres.
Aha. It is geopathic stress. It's called geopathic stress.
So
možete li ja kažete?
Da. Ta zračenja koja su preko dana locirana u našim prostorima u stanu.
Okay, so basically when we detect or when we discover the bad radiation spots in the place of living,
odnosno te mreže i zračenja,
or if we determine the network of bad radiation,
noću se pomeraju pola metra levo, desno i tako dalje.
Those radiations are moving slowly during the night.
A pogotovo kada je mesec u pitanju, oni onda menjaju takođe svoje pozicije, pun mesec, mlad mesec i tako dalje.
For example, and especially during the night when the moon is full or half full, those network of bad radiation is moving according to that impactful moon phases.
Zato kad preporučujemo pomeranje sa tog mesta,
so therefore because of that we are suggesting moving from that very place, for example if the place of sleeping is in subject.
Ako je ono toliko veliko, mora da računamo još veći krug oko toga da je opasnost.
So for example, if this bad radiation spot is as was shown, this rectangle, the circle around that rectangle shows that the bad spot is much bigger than it was determined.
So do you mean to say when the moon increases, the negativity increases? What exactly does happen? We want to understand.
Pojačava ta zračenja, mesec pojačava ta zračenja.
Basically, the moon is increasing those bad radiations.
So when the moon is zero, that means if we have a new moon, then the bad energy should be zero, but that is not the case.
Da li to znači kada je mesec skriven, odnosno pomračen, da li to znači da je loše zračenje takođe manje?
Ne.
No. Ok. Jel možete to da objasnite?
Pa nisam toliko to istraživao, nisam proučavao, ja radim preko dana uglavnom, ali znam iz istraživanja drugih radiostezista da je u pitanju vezano sa gravitacijom, a ne sa mesecem kao sjajem.
So basically, I'm not very familiar with how moon impacts those bad radiations, but from experiences of my colleagues, the gravitational field of moon is what can increase those bad radiations where mostly than the phases of the moon.
All right, great, thank you. So in your experience, what do you find more often as a source of pollution or as a source of bad energy in houses in that part of the world?
Po vašem iskustvu, šta najčešće smatrate kao uzrok loših zračenja ili loših mesta? Šta je to što najčešći uzrok?
Podzemne vode, kosmička zračenja, čvorovi.
Basically, the things that have the biggest impacts are underground water currents and cosmic knots.
Hartman, Kari i tako dalje.
Kako ste rekli, izvinite?
Hartman, Kari.
Hartman and Carey lines. Yeah, that I
Hartman and Carey networks, yes. Also,
šupljine u zemlji I rasjedi.
So basically, hollow places underground is also the most significant source of bad energy.
Zračenja oblika ili forme, odnosno arhitektura zgrade.
And mostly the shape or architectural shape of buildings and house can also be a source of bad impact or bad radiation for its residents.
For example?
I predmeti
Da li imate primer neke arhitekture?
Koji nose u sebi negativnu energiju.
Before I answer that, there are also small objects that have bad energies in them.
Right. Excellent.
Možete li samo pojasniti ovo za arhitekturu, gospodin Danko? Koji bi to bili oblici, pita doktor?
Što manje ispupčenja I udubljenja, što ravniji zidovi, što jednostavniji prostor.
So basically, when it comes to architecture, the best way is to have walls flat, not to have many hollows in walls, not to have many like deep spaces in wall. So basically, the structure of or architectural shape of building and houses should be rectangular mostly, without many changes.
All right, that is a very nice point. And I have seen that, generally in cities, as far as dowsing houses is concerned, I have seen that there is more residue of some emotional disharmony rather than in the countryside. Have you also witnessed something like that?
Da li ste, iz mojih iskustava, mislim da je stanovanje u gradu izaziva veći taj emocionalni udar nego stanovanje na selu. Da li ste imali takva iskustva?
Čini se da je tako na prvi pogled, ali ne mora da bude. Reći ću zašto.
For starters, that could be immediate conclusion, but it's not very often like that.
Čini mi se nekako podjednako da je I tamo I ovamo loše. Može biti loše.
Sometimes, from my experience, the bad spots could be similarly in urban cities as well as on the countryside.
Kad su u pitanju velike zgrade, njihovi su temelji duboki.
When we are talking about tall buildings, their foundations are really deep.
Pa urađena je drenaža voda, odvod voda.
And when building tall buildings in cities, there is a drainage of those undercurrent waters, and they are mostly those undercurrent. Basically, when we are building those tall buildings, the underground currents are being moved or being destroyed. So basically, the source of radiation is being removed when building a tall building in urban areas. Dobro?
Nema starih robova, nema starih bunara.
So basically, when you are building a tall resident buildings in cities, you are removing the old wells, the old underground currents. So basically, you are removing one of the biggest sources of bad energies.
Ali zato ima loših oblika, betona, gvožđa.
But what is bad in cities is there are bad shapes of buildings. There are bad materials from which buildings are being built. Also, some builders are using bad types of irons and so forth.
I see. Yeah, I agree with you. Now, the world has witnessed this pandemic very recently, and many of them have lost their lives, and many other people have lost their near and dear ones, because of which there has been a lot of trauma which people have gone through. And definitely, this has been captured by the houses as well in the form of negative energy patterns or bad energy traces. Now, what, according to you, should they do in order to clean up all this emotional junk lying at their homes?
Pošto smo svi prisustvovali i prošli kroz pandemiju proteklih godina, skupilo se i u kućama i kod ljudi i u njihovim telima dosta te loše energije. Šta biste vi preporučili, koji su to koraci da se to emocionalno, da kažemo, đubre očisti?
Pa mi smo radijestetisti, mi koristimo pražnjenje sa vodom, najčešće tuširanja uz mentalno pražnjenje.
For example, we practitioners of radiesthesia, we are mostly using, we are emptying our bodies by showering. So basically to use much water and to clean the body as on many occasions as we can.
Very good. Over here, we recommend that they also use some kind of a sea salt along with it, along with the water, and have exposure of 30 to 40 minutes, which will take off the negativity from the body. But what to do about the negativity of the home is, I was having something here, but I'm not able to find. In England, they say to burn sage. In order, because that the sacred smoke coming from the sage is going to clear the atmosphere or the space in the house. And in the Arab world, they have the oud or the bakhur for the same purpose. Do you have something in your part of the world which, when you burn, it gives out smoke, and with the help of the smoke, people clean their houses?
Dakle, u raznim kulturama se koristi spaljivanje određenih predmeta čiji dim izaziva da se kuća pročisti. Da li u vašoj kulturi ili u vašem delu sveta se isto spaljuje nešto i šta bi to bilo?
Da, poznato su mi ta radijestetička čišćenja putem raznih vrsta suvih biljaka.
Well, I'm also familiar with this type of cleaning by burning some dry herbs.
Which herbs?
Mi najčešće koristimo tamjan.
We are mostly using this, what we call, in our culture, we called it tamyan, but there is no concrete translation for that very essence. It is just like essence we are burning. It's called tamyan.
To je esencija smole iz drveta.
So basically, it's a type of tree, the type of solution that tree is producing, and we are burning. We are burning that solution from trees. Just wait a moment.
Yeah, maybe that he's showing us.
Yeah.
And just in the meanwhile, Mr. Pejia, in the meanwhile,
yes.
There is a very interesting thing on the screen. Mr. Danko's behind, I have a black kind of ball. I just wanted to ask, what is it? After he shows this.
Okay, this is the essence. What is Mr. Danko showing is what we are burning, and it's called tamyan, and it is producing a tree product. But I will now ask, gospodine Danko, primećujem pozadi kod vas neku vrstu kugle crne. Šta je to? Da li biste mogli da nam objasnite? Da li ima to kod vas?
To je iz Afrike za diskove. Nema to veze sa radiestezijom.
Basically, this is from Africa, and it has African origins, but it doesn't have much to do with dowsing.
Okay, all right. But that was very...
Ako mogu da se vratim malo na odnos grada i sela.
I want to say just a couple of things when it comes to difference between countryside and urban cities.
Please.
Kažite.
Profesore Prabal, vi ste doktor, lekar.
Professor Prabal, you're a doctor, you are a medicine man. Okay.
Pa ćemo malo da povežemo sada medicinu i radiesteziju, za koju mnogi od radiestezista nisu upoznati.
I want to make a couple of points in which we will connect the medicine with dowsing or radiesthesia.
Vi svakako jeste.
Okay, you are familiar with these points, but I will now say them.
I am a
Okay.
psychologist and a healer, so in psychology we don't work with medicines, but I appreciate if he is telling us something.
Ok, znači ja sam pre svega psiholog, ne poznajem toliko medicinu, ali cenim to.
Isto, ne, nije, isto važi.
Ok, it is more or less the same.
Okay,
1994. godine.
In the year of 1994,
Svetska zdravstvena organizacija
the World Health Organization
je definisala novu bolest.
Had defined a new kind of illness.
Koja se zove CFS.
Which is called
syndrome. Chronic fatigue syndrome.
Which is
syndrome hroničnog umora.
Yes, chronic fatigue syndrome. Yes.
Okay.
Koja je u stvari radiesterijska bolest.
And that type of illness is actually the dowsing type of illness, the illness that dowsers or people of radiesthesia determined. Okay.
Milioni ljudi, desetine miliona ljudi, stotine se svako jutro budu umorni, neraspoloženi, depresivni i bolesni.
So basically tens of millions of people around the world are waking up every morning feeling depressed, fatigue, or being sick.
Medicina ne zna za uzrok.
The formal medicine or classical medicine doesn't know the cause of those states.
Ne zna za lek.
And it also doesn't know how to cure that.
Bolest nije shvaćena ozbiljno.
And that type of illness is not being treated as a really serious illness.
I nema obuke za lekare povodom toga.
And there is no some type of proper education for doctors or medicine people for those type of states in which people are having themselves every day.
Skoro ni u jednoj zemlji.
Almost in any country around the world, people or doctors are not familiar how to deal with this type of illness.
U Srbiji je samo jedan lekar.
In Serbia there is only one doctor.
A terapija su suplementi i vitamini. Niko ne kaže pregledajte stan.
And people mostly in many places doctors are suggesting vitamins or antibiotics, and nobody suggests to examine the spot where you are living or where you are sleeping.
That is why we are having today's talk.
I'm sorry, what did you...
That is why we are having today's talk. That is why we are having Mr. Danko speak on it.
Okay, naravno, zbog toga ste vi, gospodin Danko, ovde da kažete sve to o čemu ste pričali.
Skoro su potpuno isti simptomi.
The symptoms are usually more or less the same.
Osim što je tamo prisutan čest bol u grlu i pojava autonomnih bolesti.
Because in some cases there is often some of the symptoms are sore throat or some kind of other autonomous disbehaviors.
Sve drugo je isto.
Everything else is the same. So basically this is what is characteristical.
So what do people do then? The world needs some answers. Everyone will not be able to contact Mr. Danko. At least if he is watching Mr. Danko or she is watching Mr. Danko, let Mr. Danko give some small tips on how to manage themselves out of it. And if they can, of course, they can contact him as well.
Naravno, gospodine Danko, većina ljudi, nažalost, ne može da vas vidi ili da vas čuje, i koji su onda to, da kažemo, savjeti koje biste vi dali da se svi izvadimo iz takvih stanja?
Pa, ranije se više verovalo nego danas u ove alternativne stvari.
So basically people had much more faith in all times in these things we are talking about today than today.
Mislim na kraj 20. veka, da se više verovalo.
So basically, at the very end of the 20th century, people believed more in alternative medicine than they're believing today.
Međutim, ovaj ubrzani život je promenio to i ljude interesuje samo interes i novac.
Because today, this way of modern life, people are more concentrated on money and some other mundane things rather than this type of alternative medicine or improving their lives.
Zdravlje samo kad ga izgubimo.
Basically, they are only concerned in health or in these things when it's too late, when we lose our health.
Right.
Tako je svuda, nije samo...
So basically, everywhere around the world, people are living this type of modern lives when they are not informing themselves more than they should.
Nažalost, ima jedna knjiga, zove se Bolest Božija posjeta.
There is also one book which is called Illness or God's Visit. Dobro.
Tako da se svi dozovemo pameti samo kad je to već...
Basically, we are start asking questions about our health when it's too late.
You're right. I agree. But we want to leave our audience on a positive note.
Da želimo našoj publici malo kažemo još neku ipak pozitivnu stranu, koji su to savjeti ili preporuke s vaše strane.
Pa uvijek je to pozitivno, zbog toga što smo mi u procesu učenja, ma kako bili, uvijek je to pozitivno.
Basically, we must learn about these things more. We must change our lines from this type of modern type of life and inform ourselves a little bit more.
Great.
Stvari su proste. Ako se osjećamo loše, a svi nalazi budu dobri, loše u bilo kom smislu, a nalazi budu dobri, razmislimo zašto se to nešto dešava, potražimo pomoć, alternative.
For starters, when we have our medical exam and everything is good, but we are feeling bad, that is the very sign that we should start to think about alternative ways of healing.
Jednostavno, počnimo da otvaramo svoj um.
Basically, we must start to open our minds.
Great, very nice. So it was a very insightful talk by Mr. Danko today. And what initially he elaborated upon is that if you are having certain signs of fatigue, if you are having certain illnesses, but you can't find a concrete medical diagnosis for it, then you might also try to find out whether the place you are sleeping at is contributing to that particular illness. He also elaborated a lot of things for traditions that people have been carrying on all over the world in order to make sure that they sleep at a safe place, that they regularly clean their place of negative energy in order to live a more vital, healthier, and happy life. I hope you would have liked the talk. You would have gained a lot of insights from this particular talk, and you would have gained immense knowledge from Mr. Danko. I thank you very much, Mr. Danko, for being with us today.
Zahvaljujem vam se mnogo, gospodine Danko, što ste bili s nama dan.
Hvala vama također.
I wish you well. I wish you too well as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.